Well, they're not available in most app stores, but spyware tools are still being marketed by some companies to keep a close eye on a spouse or partner. The surveillance apps allow users to track and monitor their target's activity undetected often, troubling security experts and those working in domestic violence prevention. Joining me now is Bevan, CEO of Full Stop Australia. Thanks for your time. Just first of all, how these work. And we're not going to give out, names of them to give people hints, but basically if they download them on a partner's phone, they can then have access to texts, calls, even where they are. And I think in some instances, have cameras on and so on.
Yeah, we've seen a real growth in the use of these kinds of apps in the domestic violence space. We've seen how people have used it in many ways, like reading text, filming people, accessing social media, photographs, all of those kinds of things. Some of these even allow people to actually use those apps to send messages on the victim's behalf. So it's a really serious problem that we're dealing with here.
In terms of the legality, essentially a lot of the app stores say they're trying to weed these out, these types of things, but I guess you never know when they sort of pop up. And the other concern is they're being advertised by PI agencies and the like so that they tell you which app to do, or they've got a special one you can download. So what is the legality issue here? Is this illegal?
Yeah, it's really complex. And I think that there are a lot of people trying to find the way forward on this, because there are some really complex things around ownership of phones. There's then the complexity around whether these apps are legal or not. And honestly, so much of the tech-verse, if you like, is not well regulated. So regardless of some of the best intentions by, some of the major app stores, these keep popping up. So there is a need for us to work in quite a complex legal space across a number of different types of jurisdictions.
And that's because some of the legitimate apps might be something that a parent would use to know where their younger child is. And it's that sort of fine line, or whether that's used for someone else to say, hey, here's a new version of the app that actually you can use to spy on a partner. Is that part of the issue, that there is a legitimate use for the type of tech, but it's being misused?
I think generally we're seeing a growth in the way that people use technology to connect with others and keep across each other's movements. And so in some ways we see it being normalised, but then, as always in this space, we take it the next level. So people are actually using those apps as a basis and creating new ways to stalk. But let's be really clear, this is a really different type of surveillance to the kind of Find My Family or whatever those apps might be, where you can make sure that your kids get home from school safely while you're on your way home from work. These are built often with the very specific focus on surveilling people without their knowledge. These are...
And you've got the advertising saying, do you suspect something from a partner? And the tragedy is, when we've seen in the past, these apps have led effectively, or they've been connected to, murders that were carried out.
Yeah, the research is showing us that the level of risk to particularly women who are in situations where there's domestic and family violence, and particularly coercive control, where there is the use of these kind of stalking and surveillance, that does actually increase risk of even worse outcomes.
Bevan, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
If this story has raised any concerns for you, help is available via the website or on screen. You can contact the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Helpline, 1800 RESPECT.